Hello, guys. My name is Murtala Omtata, and that is my face, and that is how you spell my name. So, what I have on this whiteboard is a sort of documentation of my experiences speaking English in America. So, a few things about me. I was born and raised in Kenya, where most of the population speaks English, yes, but we mostly communicate in Swahili. So English isn't as developed as it is in European or American countries. And by American, I mean Canada and America. So when I landed in America in August 2023, I was a bit scared with whether or not I'd be able to communicate and articulate my thoughts properly in English. And one of the first things I noticed when interacting with people and the objects around me was slight differences in the way we pronounced or enunciated or named certain things. One that stuck with me was napkin. That is what Americans call those little pieces of paper that you use to clean your hand after you're done. uh, Pieces of paper that look something like a paper towel. And after you eat, you'd just use them to maybe wipe your hand off the debris that remain from the food. But in Kenya, we would call them serviettes. And I thought it was a bit weird that I spoke a wrong kind of English, that I couldn't articulate myself properly because of this nuanced discrepancies in the way uh, in the vocabulary we used. And so I started keeping track of the things I said, quote unquote, weirdly. One of them was football. Americans called it soccer. Football is a different sport in America. Another one was, I would say, supper to talk about what Americans would call dinner. I would say washroom, and they say restroom. And this little differences really rattled my confidence in my English, in my ability to articulate myself in English. So when I took my English 1101 class, I had to talk about an area that I struggled with. I resented myself. I uh, resent isn't the right word. It's more of considered myself into saying that I was bad in verbal communication. Until one day I met a friend of mine called Williams. William is from Britain, and I remember one day when we were outside taking a walk around campus, he turned to me and said, "Hey, do you want to go and get supper?" And I was so perplexed. That is my perplexed face, going like, "Oh my God, you say it's supper too?" Because I was calling it dinner ever since I landed in America in an effort to fit in. And the thing he told me was English is as complex and varied as it is broad. So every single culture, every single country that speaks English speaks it in a different way. So there's no really one correct English. And yes, whilst Americans say dinner and British and Kenyan say supper, there are also some differences between British and Kenyan English, similarities between Kenyan and American English that is alien to British English. So that conversation led me to realizing that uh, that whilst English is more varied and complex as it is broad, there is more to it than just the vocabulary to it, the vocabulary that we use. In my English 1101 class, we went over the woven model, which was written, oral, verbal, electronic, and nonverbal. And I noticed that in my pursuit to quote unquote speak American English, speak the proper English, and and in my efforts to emphasize my American vocabulary, I had lost track of the other segments of the woven communication model. And in truth, I wasn't really bad at verbal communication. I spoke differently, yes, but my main weakness was the fact that I only relied on verbal communication instead of the whole thing as a unit. So in taking the English 1101 class with Dr. Emiliano, it is my hope that I can develop in my written, oral, electronic, and nonverbal communication because I feel like I have the verbal down to a Q. Thank you for listening.